Hi everyone, Pride Plant Girl here. I'm back in my sewing room today because I've had a lot of questions about potato storage, and I've grown a lot of different varieties of potatoes that I want to keep separated from one another this year. And it's got me to thinking about what the best ways to store potatoes are, and better ways to store small amounts of potatoes would be, given that I generally use like milk crates. But they hold a little bit more than I maybe need for some of my potatoes, and I want something that I can put several in and hold them together easily, so I keep the varieties separated and yet be able to move them around and deal with them easily. So I think I've come up with a solution, and I'm going to show you what it is. So what I've made, hopefully you can see it, is just basically a big sack, a big bag. It has a zipper in the side here. Now I made it zip from the bottom to the top so that I never had a problem with it somehow loosening or something and coming down and potatoes falling out. But then you can easily access from the bottom, so if you're using it for store-bought potatoes, you're going to keep adding to the top of the bag, you could get potatoes out of the bottom. Now in my needs, I probably don't necessarily need this, but it's also a good way to see what's happening down at the bottom of the bag if you have lots of potatoes in it. What gave me this idea is I was looking online at different kinds of storage containers and boxes, and they were selling potato bags like this, and I thought, I'm sure I could make something for cheaper than that. So I'm going to show you what I did, and I haven't used these yet over the winter to test them out, but I'm pretty certain with how they're built that they should serve all the needs that the potatoes have for storage. So let me show you what I purchased to use and how I did this. So what I picked up is a pack of 6 flour sack towels. They do let some light pass through, so I've opted to double them up for the storage of the potatoes. Now, the first one that I did, I used two towels, and they're quite large, 30 inches by 30 inches. So I had doubled 2 towels up and folded them in half to do this, but I think for this one, because that gives me such a big bag and I don't really need them that big, I'm going to use one towel folded in half and make a sack that's about that size. So that's what I'm going to use. And then you need a zipper, and this is a 12-inch one. And it's not super fine, but it's not super heavy duty. I think it'll be good enough for the purposes of this. Of course, I needed some white thread, and this is just called parachute cord, and it's just a good strong thick cord to put through to make a drawstring, but you could use like a shoelace or anything really. So that's what I used. So let's get started. Okay, so I've laid this out on this green cutting mat, so I thought that might be easier for you to see what I'm doing here. So all I've done is I've taken the towel and it's folded in half, and these are pretty square, these towels, so it's just in half one direction, and then I folded it in half the other direction. That's just to give us that double layer inside, and I'm just thinking that helps to have less light passing through, because potatoes, when they get light shining on them, they turn green, and that can produce a poison in the potatoes, so you want to keep them in the dark. So that's the only reason I'm doubling that over. Then I'm going to use this fold here as my bottom, and I'm going to be sewing up this side, and I'm going to be marking my zipper, and I'm just going to be sewing a little bit up this side and a little bit at the top. And so I'm going to be putting my zipper on, and I just want to mark about how far I need to sew this top edge is going to get folded over, and I'll actually fold it out, I guess, this way, because this will be inside. When we're done, we'll flip it around. So we'll fold it over so that we can put the cording through there, and the same on the other side. So I'm going to fold that down so that I have that space. Once I've folded those top edges down, being that I'm doing this one a little bit smaller than the last one, it looks like my zipper will go the full side. So I'm not going to sew anything on this side for right now. So I'm going to sew up this side, and then I will sew along the bottom just to get these two in along both of these edges at the top here. So I'll do those separately so that it opens, and then I'll put the zipper in on the side here. So we'll go to the sewing machine and we'll get that done. So with these little loops that I made at the top, or whatever you want to call it, folds that I made, all I'm doing is I'm trying to make enough space that I'll be able to slide the cording in and through when I'm finished here. So I think just to make sure that I don't accidentally sew these shucks, I want them open on both ends, I'm going to sew those first, and then I will do the side after. So keep in mind, this is just a potato sack, so I don't think we need to really worry about it being perfect and beautiful. It's somewhere to store potatoes, but potatoes are heavy, so we do want to make sure we do some back stitching just to make sure we have really good strong stitch to start there. When I'm sewing, because the flour sacks aren't perfectly made, they're not perfectly square, so I'm not worried about what this edge looks like. We're going to fold it and it'll be inside. I'm trying to leave an equal amount of space the entire length here on this side. That's all my goal is here with this. And then I'm going to back stitch at the end. So then I'll just do that on the other side. Okay, so now we're back to having this rough edge, but it's sewn down, and we'll be able to put our cording in there. And we want to have it folded, if you can see that fold there, up to this top edge. We're just going to fold down this side, and we're just going to line up those two seams that we just sewed, and we're only going to sew to that part of the towel so that we leave that opening. So just so I don't forget to stop there, I'm going to start at that spot. So once again, I'm back stitching just to add strength to the seam. And what I did on my other one is I actually went and did, I think it's called a blanket stitch. Okay, so all that other stitch is doing is just doing a little zigzag stitch there, and that's just adding a little bit more strength to that seam. You know, we're going to be putting 10 pounds or so of potatoes in here. We want to make sure it's strong and going to hold them in. So now what we have, hopefully you can see that, is almost a sack. The bottom's folded so it's done, but we still have this side that comes open. So we're going to put the zipper in there. To do a zipper, it'll be a lot easier if you have a zipper foot. It just allows the needle to come down really close without getting the teeth of the zipper. This one you can sew on either side, some are just half. If you have a zipper foot, it'll make this a lot easier. And then of course you need your zipper. And remember, this was the inside of the bag we were sewing on, but we want to get to the outside or the good side right now, so we're just going to flip it around. And we just want to work with one side at a time. So let's get rid of the one side. Just have the other side out. Okay, so this is called the right side of the fabric or the project, and the part you zip on is the right side of the zipper. Remember, I want my zip to start at the bottom of my bag, so I'm going to go down here. I'm going to line it up so it's right sides on top of one another. And I'm going to be sewing along this edge here. I don't know how well you can see that, but the zipper foot is pushed up against the edge of the zipper on the back side there. And then that'll keep, if you use that as a guide against the edge of the zipper, that'll keep the needle going down in the little hole behind it so it never actually hits the zipper and wrecks your needle. So just make sure these edges are lined up. You can pin them, it's a small zipper, you can just hold them, but make sure that they're lined up even the whole way down. And we'll go down to almost to the opener on the zipper, and then we'll stop. Oh, and I'll show you what to do then. Okay, so I've come almost right up to the opener on the zipper there. So I'm just going to give a little back stitch and take this out. So then what you want to do is just open your zipper up past where you were just sewing, and then lay it flat down on your project again. Make sure, because remember we just folded this bag, make sure you have noted where the bottom of the bag is supposed to be. You don't want to go past there. So I'm going to go back to where I was just sewing, back stitch a minute there, and then just finish out the end of my zipper. Mine happens to end right at the bottom of the bag. Back stitch, cut it off. Then you have your zipper in there nice and tidy. I've just folded it over. What you can do now is go along and sew down this line to give it a nice finished look if you like. To do that, I've just moved my zipper foot over to the other side so that I'm sewing on the other side of the foot, so that I can stay close to this side of the zipper now. So again, you'll need to stop, unzip your zipper, lay it all back in there, and then finish up again. And that just helps your zipper to lay a little bit nicer. You could go a little bit further out if you want. That's just where I did mine. So now you're going to want to put right sides of the zipper together with the other right sides of the bag. And I find it easier just to put it back inside out again. So I have my right side of my zipper there, and this is the right side of the bag here, so I've got it flipped over. We're going to line those two edges up there, and we're just going to do the same thing. So make sure your tops of the bag are lined up. So you need to make sure that the other side of the bag is out of your way. Okay, so that's a pretty simple little project there. So now our bag has wound up back inside out. I'm just going to flip it around right ways again. There's our zipper that we put in. And because with the zipper, when you close it, there's always those little flappy bits there. So I'm just going to go and do a little stitch there, just to close that little bit up there. Okay, so I've just done a little stitch there, just to give that opening there a little bit of a close. And your zipper goes all the way to the bottom. Now what we need to do is put the cord in. So I just grabbed enough cord to go side to side twice, and then I added on about 5 inches. Cut it off. Lots more cord to use another day. One of the easiest ways to get cording through a hole like this works great too if you have a drawstring on some sweats or a hoodie or something that's come loose. Let's just take a pin, close it up, hook that on the end there. Now I want to start on the zipper side, get it in the opening, and then you can feel that pin and you just kind of bunch the fabric up on that pin, and then so from the end that you're trying to get it through, bunch it up and then pull the end that you started at to straighten it out, and that's going to move your cording through the whole way. So I'm just going to work on that. Okay, so now because I wasn't making anything fancy here, I didn't do anything fancy with the other end that was open, so I'll just take it, pull it through on the non-zipper side, and then just stick it into the next opening. And there you go. You have your cord through at this end, and you can just take that pin off. Okay, and you can see how this cording really frays. So all you need to do is just trim up the ends. Now for this little trick, I like to keep a little bit of water on hand just in case. And then you're just going to take a lighter and just singe the end real quick. And I'll just drop it in the water just to cool it off. And then you can see the ends are melted up there and they're not going anywhere. If you're uncomfortable with the lighter for some reason, you could probably use a little bit of a fray check, which is a kind of a glue kind of thing that you can buy in the sewing section, and that'll help keep kind of glue the ends together. But this is my preferred method. I'm just going to put a small knot in here for now, and now some of the bags that I saw online had a little loop of fabric in here so you could hang it on a hook on the wall. I don't know why you couldn't just hang it like this. You might want to put a better knot in, but I'm sure you could just hang it with that cord, or add a little piece of loop of fabric in there. It wouldn't be hard to just take a piece of fabric, sew it in on each side, and there you go. That's my very simple solution to a potato bag storage. Now, making it this size, I figured it out, I could get about 6 for the price that, or just slightly more once you get the zippers, I guess, for what I could find one bag online for, or 3 for about the same price if you make the bigger one. So just for reference, this is about 3 pounds of my Vinti potatoes. Got the zipper shut on here. And that's about half full now. So we can close the top. And then if you want to grab some potatoes out the side you can go, or you go through the top if you want. But I just thought that was an interesting solution, something different, and I can still keep them if I need. You know, if I have a few small batches like this, which I do this year because I grew so many different varieties and I just grew a few of each variety. So now I could throw these all in one container that I can easily move around, but they're separated so I can keep the varieties separate. But I like to have some to save for seed for some of my varieties. I want to be able to do that. You know, some of them all look the same from the outside, especially after they've stored for a few months. They might look very different in color or texture when they're fresh, but I find sometimes after they've stored for a few months, they can all start to kind of look the same. The colors become a little less vibrant. So, just something different to try. Let me know if you decide to try this project down below, and let me know how you store your potatoes. I'd love to hear. Thanks for joining me in my sewing room today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.